What's up everyone, and welcome to another video. I hope you guys enjoy this, and my condolences go out to the families. If I missed anything, be sure to leave it in the comments. The mysterious disappearance of 3 young girls cast a chilling shadow over the peaceful dunes of Indiana. Their disappearance without a trace leaves their fate uncertain. Come along as we explore the mystery that lingers in the sands, revealing the mysteries and unanswered questions that remain. Make sure to watch my last video if you missed it, and let's get into the case. During the warm and sunny Independence Day weekend in 1966, 3 friends went to the pleasant beaches of Lake Michigan to sunbathe. The young ladies' excursion had nothing unusual about it on the surface, and a few hours later, after they had taken in some sun, they were supposed to return home. The fact that Patricia Blow, Renee Bruhl, and Ann Miller never returned to their families after that July afternoon and were never seen again is awful, and my condolences go out to their family. I hope you enjoy this 1966 Indiana mystery as we dive deep into the mysterious story and theories regarding their disappearance. On July 2nd, Patricia, who was 19, Renee, who was 19 as well, and Anne, who was 21, had decided to spend the day at Indiana Dunes State Park, taking advantage of the warm weather. Renee and Patricia had attended the same school, and Anne was acquainted with Patricia because they both enjoyed riding horses at the same stables. That day, Anne chauffeured them in her Buick, and according to the Chicago Tribune, Patricia had informed her mother they planned to return home early in the afternoon, allowing Renee to begin preparing dinner for her husband. The girls set out to secure a good spot approximately 100 yards from the shoreline of Lake Michigan after arriving at the dunes parking lot at around 10 a.m. Witnesses observed them conversing and sunbathing in their swimsuits while seated on the sand. That day, the beach was packed, and a teenage couple didn't realize until dusk that the 3 young ladies they were seated next to on their picnic blanket hadn't come back to get their stuff. They said they remembered the 3 getting into a small boat sometime during the afternoon and reported the abandoned items to a park ranger. Thanking the couple, Park Superintendent William Svedek gathered up the blanket to take to his office for safekeeping. At this point, he wasn't overly concerned because hundreds of boats were frequently in the water, and young male boat owners occasionally offered rides to attractive young girls who were lazing by the water. Maybe, he likely speculated, they had overstayed their welcome on the refreshing water and had lost track of time. They'll come looking for this stuff and be glad nobody ran off with it. Thanks, bud, the Chicago Tribune quoted Svedek as saying. However, neither Patricia, Renee, nor Anne returned to get their belongings or to the car that was waiting for them in the parking lot. By the end of the holiday weekend, the disappearances had been reported to Indiana State Police as the families of each of them became more concerned. The beach, marshland, and cabins were thoroughly searched for any signs of the 3 missing women as soon as a massive search party was organized. Nevertheless, the police soon received alarming reports. Dateline reported that they were last seen getting into a trimaran-style boat, which was occupied by a white man in his 20s with dark, curly hair. Earlier that afternoon, they had also been seen with 3 men on a smaller boat. It was a Trojan cabin cruiser, a 28-foot craft. Is it possible they were kidnapped? Regretfully, detectives had their work cut out for them, trying to track down any information about the boats or their owners, since up to 6,000 boats had taken to the water that weekend alone. In the meantime, Janice, Patricia's sister, informed the authorities that Patty hadn't been herself before her disappearance. And an additional revelation emerged Patricia was seeing a married man, and Janice inquired as to whether she was expecting his child. However, investigators questioned whether Patricia and her companions boarded the boat that afternoon for this reason. The Chicago Tribune reported that a couple based in Gary would carry out unlawful backroom abortions, which they could access through Lake Michigan. Furthermore, the description of the man the three women were last seen with fit their nephew, and witness accounts indicated he might have been at the park that day. Is it possible that Patty and her friends got caught up in a bungled amateur medical procedure? Detectives found more troubling leads as time passed, and the disappearance investigation went on. George and Silas Jane, two brothers, owned the Tricolor Stables in Palatine, Illinois, where Patricia and Anne rode horses. The phone numbers of both men, whose lengthy criminal histories included dubious acts like fraud and even car bombs, were discovered among the girls' possessions. In addition, Patricia had suffered a facial injury in March 1966, just a few months before her disappearance. When a friend asked her what had happened, she said she was in trouble with some syndicate people. It is even reported that, at some point after the women disappeared, Silas Jane informed the local sheriff that he had 3 bodies buried beneath his house, though he did not specify whose they were. It appears that there was never a follow-up on the planned search because the sheriff passed away unexpectedly before it could be carried out. Had the women become embroiled in any criminal or gang-related activities? Was the result their kidnapping and murder? What prevented the succeeding sheriff from investigating Silas Jane's supposed confession? Lastly, a few investigators questioned whether the 3 friends fled to begin a new life amid possible personal issues. Renee's abandoned purse contained a letter from her 15-month married husband expressing her desire for them to separate. Unverified reports of the women's presence in other states had even given rise to the theory that they had absconded on purpose. Nevertheless, the fact that the letter was written a few weeks earlier suggests that Renee had second-guessed her decision to give it to her husband. The other families maintained that their loved ones would not have taken such drastic measures, and that sizable quantities of cash, certainly helpful if one wishes to begin a new life, had been left behind. Harold Blow, Patricia's father, was heartbroken by his daughter's passing, but remained optimistic about finding her. Within the Illinois Civil Air Patrol, he organized his aerial searches to thoroughly examine Lake Michigan and its environs while serving as a lieutenant colonel. He told the Chicago Tribune that he believed the friends had been abducted and that she would not have left on her own. If she were free to move, she would have read newspaper accounts of the search for her and her friends, and she would have come home. If she were running away, she would have taken more clothing and her contact lenses. Besides, she was completely wrapped up in her horse. She would not have run out on Hank, he commented. The case gradually became unsolved, but a letter from a Montana psychic was received by Indiana State Police 12 years after the women vanished. She said she saw in a vision that the 3 women's bodies were buried in dark-colored sand next to a cabin with rickety steps and a broken deck chair. If the police hadn't been able to locate a cabin near the 3 friends' last known location that fit the letter's description, the claims might have been completely rejected. Regretfully, despite organizing a dig, no sign of Patricia, Anne, or Renee was found. Maybe their remains are no longer visible due to sand shifting, or maybe they were never there in the first place. And that's where the case remains to this day. The 3 women vanished without a trace, and no solid leads regarding their whereabouts could be found. never were the boats that witnesses saw on that bright July day located. Although there is no concrete evidence to support the theory that Patricia, Anne, and Renee were the victims of foul play, it is assumed that they were. The disappearances are still being investigated as an open case, and they will investigate any leads that come through the Westchester Police Department. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know any interesting cases you would like to see covered next. As always, my condolences go out to the victims' families, and I will see you guys next time.